Hello all, welcome to Universal Group of Institution, Bangalore. Welcome to our special series on government schemes, programs and initiatives where we are discussing about all the important government programs in a very comprehensive manner. That is both from the preliminary point of view and as well as the mains point of view. In our previous classes, we have discussed about the scheme on MG Narega as well as the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana. In the today's session, we are going to discuss one more program of the Ministry of Rural Development, that is NSAP, that is National Social Assistance Program. In this particular session, we are going to understand how the program has evolved over a period of a time, what are the features of this program, as well as from the main perspective, we are also going to discuss about the problems, the challenges this particular scheme is facing. Now, the first question, how did this program evolve? This program is evolved right out of the DPSPs, that is the Directive Principles of State Policy. What are Directive Principles of State Policy? We're already aware of it. That is, these are instructions, these are guidelines for the state, that is the government. Whenever government comes up with any initiative or formulate any policy, these DPSPs are going to act as the framework within which these policies must function. That means these are like the lighthouse for the government. That means the manner in which government must function. These outline the very characteristics of the governance. So these NSAP, right out of two important articles that form the bedrock of the National Social Assistance Program, that is Article 41 and the Article 42. Can you see here very clearly? NSAP represents a significant step towards fulfillment of the deep directive principles in Article 41 and 42 of the Constitution, recognizing the concurrent responsibility of the central and state governments in the matter. So, in particular, Article 41 is the one that plays a major role here. Article 41, what does it do? It directs state to provide the public assistance to its citizens in case of, look at, unemployment, old age, sickness, disablement, in other cases of undeserved want within the limit of the economic capacity and the development. That means whenever the citizens are helpless, it is a duty of the state to protect them. Okay, be it disabled, whom we call as the divyang, or be it widow, be it old age, it is the duty of the state to ensure it. So how the program got conceptualized? This program was brought in by during the prime ministership of PV Narasimha Rao. The program evolved that the in a 1995, when the program was, conceptualized or started in the year 1995. The program was having the three important sub schemes. One was the National Old Age Pension Scheme, then the National Family Benefit Scheme, third one was the National Maternity Benefit Scheme. Remember, the program was conceptualized in the 1995 during the prime ministership of PV Narasimha Rao, who happens to be the architect of the LPG reforms that were carried out in the 1991. As the time progressed, by the time of the year 2000, we see that the new scheme was added to this particular scheme, that is during the time of the prime ministership of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, that is Annapurna scheme was launched. So what is the objective of the Annapurna scheme? Those old age people who are, even though the rightful beneficiaries, are somehow are excluded of the National Old Age Pension Scheme, all such people must be given with the free ration that happens to be the Annapurna scheme. Can you see here very clearly? This scheme aimed at providing food security to meet the requirement of those senior citizens who, though eligible, have remained uncovered under the National Old Age Pension Scheme. And moreover, in the year 2001, this is very important one, where the National Maternity Benefit Scheme has been transferred from Ministry of Rural Development to Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Can you see here very clearly? On 1st April 2001, the from the Ministry of Rural Development to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, this particular program was transferred. And by the time of the 2000, in the year February 2009, we see that two more new schemes were added to this already, and as well as the scheme was renamed. What happens in the year 2009? These two new schemes known as Indira Gandhi National Widow Pension Scheme as well as Indira Gandhi National Disability Pension Schemes were introduced, and the National Old Age Pension Scheme was renamed as Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, which was started in the 1995. National Widow Pension Scheme was started in the 2009, whereas disability scheme as well, it was started in the year 2009, that is during the prime ministership of, that is the Manmohan Singh, as well as the National Family Benefit Scheme, which was already existing since 1995. Annapurna was introduced in the year 2000. Remember these things very clearly. When the program was conceptualized in the year 1995, program was having the three sub schemes. One was National Old Age Pension Scheme, another was Family Benefit Transfer Scheme, another one happens to be the National Maternity Benefit Scheme. By the year 2000, one more scheme was added to this, that is the Annapurna scheme. By the year 2001, the National Maternity Benefit Scheme was transferred from Ministry of Rural Development to the Ministry of Family and Health Welfare. By the year of 2009, two more new schemes were added. And moreover, what was the difference between the National Old Age Pension Scheme versus Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme was, in the National Old Age Pension Scheme, the minimum age to get into the program was 65, whereas in the Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme, the minimum age to enroll for the program was the 60 years. That means they have reduced the age. So who implements this program? This is again one more very important dimension from the civil service point of view. See, remember, this particular scheme is being implemented in a different state by a different department. Yes, you heard it right. The different ministry in a different state is implementing this program. Just for your understanding, can you see very clearly? The Rural Development Department in the states of AP, Assam, and the Goa, Meghalaya, and West Bengal, that is implementing, whereas Department of Women and Child Development is implementing in a state of Orissa and Puducherry. The Revenue Department in the state, the Southern Giants, that is in Karnataka and the Tamil Nadu. Department of Labor, Employment and Training in the state of Jharkhand. So remember very clearly, from the examination point of view, there is no specific ministry or a particular or a single ministry which is implementing this scheme. At the central level, the schemes falls under the purview of the Ministry of Rural Development, whereas when it comes to the state government, this scheme is being implemented by the different ministry or the different department. Moreover, and which is very important, this scheme extends to both rural as well as the urban area. Yes, you heard it very clearly. Even though it is being implemented by the Ministry of Rural Development, this particular scheme is applicable to the both rural as well as the urban area. In case of MG Narega, that is the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, that particular scheme was specifically meant for the rural areas only. And moreover, who is the beneficiary under this program? Under this program, the beneficiary or the applicant must belong to below poverty line family. That is, the criteria is prescribed by the government of India. So, based upon the criteria of the government of India, if there is any individual whose family is below the poverty line, they can get the benefits out of the National Social Assistance Program. So, how the beneficiaries are selected? As I said very clearly, applicant must belong to BPL according to the criteria that is set by the government of India. Moreover, under this particular program, 100% central assistance is extended to states and UTs. That means the money, the benefit, the amount of money is coming from the central government itself. The implemented machinery will be of the state, where the state government is supposed to identify the beneficiary according to the guidelines prescribed by the government of India. Moreover, remember this very clearly. In case of a death of a pensioner, the pension is stopped and no nominee will receive it. Remember this very clearly, which is completely different. Whenever any pension, I mean, what happens with regard to the a pension, where the because this particular program happens to be of a non-contributory pension scheme. That means here, generally in a pension scheme, two people contribute to the pension fund: the individual who wants to avail the benefit of the pension, as well as the employer. In case of the death of an pensioner, the nominee is going to receive a 50% of that pension. But since this being a non contributory in nature, where the beneficiary is not at all contributing any amount of money to the pension fund, we see that in case of death of a pensioner, nominee will not receive any kind of pension. And moreover, the government says that the pension can be disbursed monthly, or some of the states disburse quarterly, that is once in a 3 months. Some even do it a half yearly in advance. So let us look at all the five important schemes one by one. The first one happens to be the Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme. Individuals above the age of 60 years, as I said very clearly, National Old Age Pension Scheme of 1995 was for the 65 years, whereas Indira Gandhi happens to be, I mean, Indira Gandhi pension scheme happens to be for the 60 years. Now, must belong to BPL family. This is the number one. What the benefit will be? They will be getting 200 rupee per month from the age of 60 to 79. After that, 500 rupee will be given after the age, I mean, once they cross the age of 79. Remember very clearly, 100% of this money is coming from the central government itself. Second scheme we have is Indira Gandhi National Widow Pension Scheme. Who are the eligible? 40 to 59 years, must belong to a BPL household. You can see here 300 per month, and once they cross the age of 80, they will be given the 500. That means if there is any woman who becomes a widow in the years of 40 to 59, they are the only one who can avail the benefit. If they cross the age of 60, they can directly claim from the Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme. So let us look at the other three schemes. That happens to be the Indira Gandhi National Disability Pension Scheme for the Divyangs. Individuals between the aged 18 to 59 years must have a severe or a multiple disabilities. That is where the government rule itself says that any individuals who is having more than 80% of the disabilities, they are the only one who can get the benefits. You heard it right, 80%. Must belong to a BPL. Yes. What is the benefit? 300 per month. As once the individual crosses the age of 80, they are going to get the 500 rupee. I mean, next, National Family Benefit Scheme. Here This is meant for that family whenever it loses the single bread earner. That is households living below poverty line. Death of a primary breadwinner aged between the 18 to 64. If the primary breadwinner death happens, whose age is between the 18 to 64, a lump sum amount of 20,000 will be given to that particular household. Next, we have the Annapurna scheme, that is the senior citizens eligible under Indira Gandhi National Old Age Pension Scheme but not receiving any pension. Those old age people will get the 10 kg of free food grains per month. So let us look at from the mains perspective, what are the problems that this is having. The first problem is happens to be the stagnant budget allocation. If you look at the budget that is being allotted for this particular national social assistance program of the last 10 years, the budget more or less has remained stagnant. Can you see very clearly in the year 2014 and 15, the budget was around the 10,547. Now that has come down to 9,652 crore. So you can see here, I mean, very clearly the budget is on a declining in nature. Considering the amount of the inflation as well as the prices that are increasing of the both of essential as well as the non-essential, the mere amount of 300 or 500 is not sufficient. That is the look at here very clearly, NSAP budget has remained unchanged for the consecutive years. When adjusted for inflation, the real value of the funds have declined, reducing the effectiveness. That means even in the year 2007, the pension was 300. Even to the day, the pension happens to be 300. So it, considering the amount of inflation that we have seen in the past 18 years, the entire amount becomes the ineffective. Declining share in the total budget, as I said very clearly, can you see here, as a part of the overall, it has come down to 0.9 percentage. That means overall the size of the budget is increasing, but if you look at the portion of NSAP budget in the overall size of a budget is on the constant decline, which is something to be alarming. If you compare this with the the contributory pension fund or the where the union government employees get, I mean, we have roughly around 65 lakh crore union employees who are right now getting the beneficiaries. These 65 lakh crore employees are getting more than 2 lakh crore worth of a pension. Okay, so you can imagine the stark difference that exists. Whereas if you look at the number of beneficiaries under the NSAP happens to be the 3 crore. 3 crore beneficiaries versus the 65 lakh beneficiaries. Whereas these beneficiaries are marked with a fund of let's say 9,000 crore approximately, whereas here it's more than a 2 lakh crore. You can see the contrast difference here. Outdated beneficiary data. That means if you look at very closely, currently the beneficiaries are decided based upon the socio-economic caste census of 2011. Whereas under NSAP, the beneficiaries have been decided based upon the census 2001 as well as the poverty gap ratio of 2004. Can so based upon the outdated data, the beneficiaries are being selected. So that's the reason you see that the beneficiaries are capped at 3 crore itself. 3 crore itself. So that needs to be changed. Inadequate pension amounts. The pension has not been increased since 2007, as I said very clearly. 18, it's been 18 years the pensions have not been increased. The elderly women receive only 200, women and widows and disabled receive 300 only, which is insufficient for the any basic needs. Last one, see, NSAP actively encourages the states to contribute their share to the pension as well, pension funds as well. So, if you look at the physical capacity of the states, Fiscal capacity of the states happens to be limited in comparison with the central government. So even though being a limited fiscal capacity, the states are being forced to contribute towards the NSAP. So, due to the low central contribution, states are forced to supplement the pensions with their own funds. This leads to wide disparity in pension amounts across the different states. Even going by the expert committee of Dr. Anup Satapathy, who said the minimum wages need to be increased. Can you see very clearly of the minimum wages that he described for the different regions, the region 1, region 2, region 3, region 4, 340, even going by the MG Narega minimum wage for the 2024-25 happens to be 279 per day. Considering that of 50% of the 270 and 280, the pension needs to be 140 per day. 140 into 30 happens to be the 4,200. At least 3,000 rupee needs to be given as a pension to these families. Then only it would be more, it will act as a safety net. Otherwise, the effectiveness of the pension scheme will not be realized. It becomes ineffective. So that's it in this particular video session on National Social Assistance Program, where we have looked at how the program has evolved over a period of a time, who are the beneficiaries, what are the sub schemes under this particular program, as well as what are the problems that are associated with the National Social Assistance Program. Thank you. Do like, do share, do subscribe. Do let us know if you have any concern in the comment section. Thank you.